Unless you've been living under a rock or only stick to mainstream media news, you now know that the first installment of Twitter Files was released by Elon Musk and tweeted by Matt Taibbi. It was hard to follow, so I thought it best for me to read it to you as it unfolded. What you're about to read is the first installment in a series based upon thousands of internal documents obtained by sources at Twitter. The Twitter Files tells an incredible story from inside one of the world's largest and most influential social media platforms. It is a Frankensteinian tale of a human-built mechanism grown out of the control of its designer. Twitter, in its conception, was a brilliant tool for enabling instant mass communication, making a true, real-time global conversation possible for the first time. In an early conception, Twitter more than lived up to its mission statement, giving people the power to create and share ideas and information instantly, without barriers. As time progressed, however, the company was slowly forced to add those barriers. Some of the first tools for controlling speech were designed to combat the likes of spam and financial fraudsters. Slowly, over time, Twitter staff and executives began to find more and more uses for these tools. Outsiders began petitioning the company to manipulate speech as well. First a little, then more often, then constantly. By 2020, requests from connected actors to delete tweets were routine. One executive would write to another, "More to review from the Biden team." The reply would come back, "Handled." Celebrities and unknowns alike could be removed or reviewed at the behest of a political party. Both parties had access to these tools. For instance, in 2020, requests from both the Trump White House and the Biden campaign were received and honored. However, this system wasn't balanced. It was based on contacts. Because Twitter was and is overwhelmingly staffed by people of one political orientation, there were more channels, more ways to complain, open to the left, well, Democrats, than the right. The resulting slant in the content moderation decisions is visible in the documents you're about to read. However, it is also the assessment of multiple current and former high-level executives. Okay, there was more throat clearing about the process, but screw it. Let's jump forward. The Twitter Files, Part 1. How and why Twitter blocked the Hunter Biden laptop story. On October 14, 2020, the New York Post published Biden's secret emails, an expose based on the contents of Hunter Biden's abandoned laptop. Twitter took extraordinary steps to suppress the story, removing links and posting warnings that it may be unsafe. They even blocked its transmission via direct message, a tool hitherto reserved for extreme cases like child pornography. White House spokeswoman Kayleigh McEnany was locked out of her account for tweeting about the story, prompting a furious letter from Trump campaign staffer Mike Hahn, who seethed, "At least pretend to care for the next 20 days. This led public policy executive Carolyn Strom to send out a polite WTF query. Several employees noted that there was tension between the comms policy teams, who had little less control over moderation, and the safety trust teams. Strom's note returned the answer that the laptop story had been removed for violation of the company's hacked materials policy. Although several sources recalled hearing about a general warning from federal law enforcement that summer about possible foreign hacks, there's no evidence that I've seen of any government involvement in the laptop story. In fact, that might have been the problem. The decision was made at the highest levels of the company, but without the knowledge of CEO Jack Dorsey, with former head of legal policy and trust Vijaya Gotti playing a key role. They just freelanced it, is how one former employee characterized the decision. Hacking was the excuse, but within a few hours, pretty much everyone realized that wasn't going to hold, but no one had the guts to reverse it. You can see the confusion in the following lengthy exchange, which ends up including Gotti and former Trust and Safety Chief Yoel Roth. Comms official Trenton Kennedy writes, "I'm struggling to understand the policy basis for marking this as unsafe. By this point, everyone knew this was fucked," said one former employee, but the response was essentially to err on the side of continuing to err. Former VP of Global Comms Brandon Borman asked, "Can we truthfully claim that this is part of the policy?" To which former Deputy General Counsel Jim Baker again seems to advise staying the non-course because caution is warranted. A fundamental problem with tech companies and content moderation. Many people in charge of speech care little about speech and have to be told the basics by outsiders. To wit, in one humorous exchange on day one, Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna reaches out to Gotti to gently suggest she hop on the phone to talk about the backlash regarding speech. Khanna was the only Democratic official I could find in the files who expressed concern. Gotti replies quickly, immediately diving into the weeds of the Twitter policy, unaware Khanna is more worried about the Bill of Rights. Khanna tries to reroute the conversation to the First Amendment, mention of which is generally hard to find in the files. Within a day, head of public policy Lauren Kulberstin receives a ghastly letter report from Carl Sabo of the research firm NetChoice, which had already polled 12 members of Congress, 9 Republicans and 3 Democrats, from the House Judiciary Committee to Republican Judy Chu's office. NetChoice lets Twitter know a bloodbath awaits in upcoming Hill hearings, with members saying it's a tipping point. Complaining tech has grown so big that they can't even regulate themselves, so government may need to intervene. Sabo reports to Twitter that some Hill figures are characterizing the laptop story as tech's access Hollywood moment. Twitter files continued. The First Amendment isn't absolute. Sabo's letter contains chilling passages relaying Democratic lawmakers' attitudes. They want more moderation. As for the Bill of Rights, it's not absolute. An amazing subplot of the Twitter Hunter Biden laptop affair was how much was done without the knowledge of CEO Jack Dorsey and how long it took for the situation to get unfucked, as one ex-employee put it. Even after Dorsey jumped in, there are multiple instances in the files of Dorsey intervening to question suspensions and other moderation actions for accounts across the political spectrum. The problem with the hacked materials ruling, several sources said, was that this normally required an official law enforcement finding of a hack, but such a finding never appears throughout what one executive describes as a whirlwind 24-hour company-wide mess. It has been a whirlwind 96 hours for me too. There's much more to come, including answers to questions about issues like shadow banning, boosting, follower accounts, the fate of various individual accounts, and more. These issues are not limited to political right. Good night, everyone. Thanks for all of those who picked up the phone in the last few days. Stay tuned for part 2 being released on Twitter tonight.